Good evening, everyone. My name is Someshwar. I welcome all of you on behalf of our organization, Yog Vaashishtha event session. नमस्ते, मैं सोमेश्वर आप सभी का संस्था की तरफ से योग वाशिष्ठ के सायंकाल के सत्र में स्वागत करता हूँ। रोज की तरह आज के सत्र की शुरुआत हम 3 बार ओमकार का उच्चारण करेंगे। We will begin our session by chanting Om 3 times. Today we are on day 91 and we'll continue to look at the Bhushund story. So let's all close our eyes. आंखें बंद कर ले। Let us bring our attention to our breath. Take a normal breath in and let go. Relax totally. Take one more deep breath. And let go. Let us be in this moment. This moment is infinite. Let us just be aware about this fact. Let us chant Om. Take a deep breath in. Let us invoke the divinity within. गुरु का आवाहन कर ले। Let's express our gratitude to the Master, to the Divinity. गुरु वंदना कर ले। गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु गुरुदेव महेश्वरः गुरुर् साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री Gurave Namaha. Let us pray to the divinity, to the master. Whatever the words that come out of this mouth, whatever the actions that are happening and the events that are happening around, whatever the thoughts hovering on our mind, and the power of discrimination arise in our intellect, the impressions that might be getting created in the memory is so, and if still there is an iota of that I, me. Let all that be inspired by the master alone. Divine. We, the people walking on this path of self-realization, or if you have already realized one, let this remaining life, and if I have to come back here again with a purpose, to express our gratitude, to serve the master, to serve the humanity, to spread this knowledge of individuals. Let all that be inspired by the master alone. Feel the presence of the master within and outside. And slowly and gradually, you may open your eyes. Jai Gurudev. So let's continue our today's session. Today we are on day 91. आज हम लोग 91 सप्ताह में यहाँ पे पहुंच चुके हैं. And we are still continuing the story of Bhushund. Yesterday we saw that Bhushund starts expressing himself. The story goes like this, that in the court of Indra, they were having some discussion about the Chiranjeevis, the immortals. That is where they remember Bhushund. To go and meet Bhushund, actually, it's Bhushund. Vaashishtha Muni travels through his Sukshmadeha, to the subtle body, and then goes and interacts with Bhushund. He says that, tell me who you are, how are you here, how you become immortal, share all these details. And that is where Bhushund to share his story, how he took his birth, to his father, Chand Crow, his name, father's name is Chand, and his mother's were Hansini, the swans. Through that he comes, then he does the upasana of Devi Brahmi, then he does offers his prayer to his another Devi, another goddess, Alapurusha. And then after that he expresses that he wants to do, he wants to be in silence and do his tapacharya. So his father shows him a way on the one of the Meri Purwardh, the mountain. There is this Kalparuksha, this tree called Kalparuksha. There he goes and starts living with all his other brothers, other 20 brothers. So they were total 21. So in this period, he says that I have lived here, all these multiple years, many yugas, many kalpas have been passed. I have seen this, many such universes being created and even destroyed. But since then, I'm here. I used to do a dharma of opposite of the thing. When the Agni used to come, I used to take, when the fire used to come, then I used to take, consider myself as the water, and I used to save myself. When there was a play that used to happen, all over it is a whole tsunami of water. That time I used to become the air, and I used to tell that these are all the things that I used to do, and then I survived throughout. So you see, I have seen all these things. This is your eighth birth. It tells to Vaashishtha, this is your eighth birth. You have been like this many times. This Ramayana, Mahabharata, all these things have been written here a number of times. I have seen the Lord Brahma becoming Lord Vishnu and playing that role. I have seen Lord Vishnu becoming Lord Brahma and playing that role. All these roles, n number of Brahmas, n number of Vishnus, n number of all such kings, Ramas, and what we say incarnation, all these things, they have been coming here and again. These things I have seen all that. Now, Vaashishtha Muni asks, how did all this happen? How did you achieve this? See, there are two ways. The one way is through Jnana Samadhi, to self-inquiry, to know yourself, Atma Jnana, self-realization. This is the one, the supreme. But when I started my journey, I did not have this knowledge. It is very, very easy for the people like you, refers him, as you are Brahmagani, you are the one who knows this. For people like you, this path is very, very easy. So for that time, I did not have this access. So whatever that I had with me, I continued on that. And that was the breath, that prana spandan, it was there with me. So I just continued to follow that. Now, what does he all do? Everything in detail we saw yesterday. We saw how he does the all Panch Prana, different 5 types of pranas which I explained here. One is the apana vayu, the one which you inhales, the prana vayu which you exhales. Then Vyana and Samada equally distributes this energy throughout your body, and the prana is the one which takes your prana shakti up. So we saw Pancha Prana. Then we also saw different types of nadis. We saw the left nostril is Ida nadi, the right nostril as a Pingala nadi. In between them, when both are activated, we saw the Sushmana nadi gets activated. From a medical science perspective, we also discussed about the vagus nerves. It starts from your brain and goes along through your neck, through your heart, and through your stomach. That strongest and cranial cranial nerve is what is called, and it's also vagus nerve. We saw all that. We also saw how this nadi helps us. The left nadi is a Chandra nadi, the moon, because it is having a cooling effect on your body when it is activated. And the right side nostril is a Surya nadi, the sun. So it creates the Ushma, the fire. So that helps in your digestion. That helps in your activity. When you want to meditate, your left side nadi needs to be activated. And when you do the any activities, any kriya, your right side nadi or your digestion of your food, right side nadi needs to be active, nostril needs to be activated. Now, when we do the Sudarshan Kriya, we have been asked to turn to your right side. So our left side nadi will become active, and then you will become calm. That's the thing. Every time we do the Nadi Shodhan Pranayam, we balance this nadis, left and right, both the things are activated. We get into Sushmana Nadi, we are able to having a balanced state, we are able to meditate well. Same thing when you come out of it, again you balance it, because in the meditation, your Chandra Nadi will become more active. So we want to get into Kriya Shakti, now do some action. So we will do again Nadi Shodhan Pranayam, again bring it back to equilibrium state, and then start with the work. So that is the principle of this Ida and Pingala, Chandra Nadi and Surya Nadi. It is also used as Vama Pakshi. So when after your lunch, when you can take a 20 minutes of power nap. So that is Vama Pakshi. Now let us move ahead. We have also seen how the Purak, the Apana Vayu which goes inside, is also used, 3-stage pranayama. We breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. That hold is your Antar Kumbhak, and the extra one is your after leaving, that is Pran Vayu leaves, and then 2, 3, 4, 6, and then the 1 and 2. That took out is outside you. Keep your breath and then you stay there. So that is what we saw in a stage. Also we use Antar Kumbhak and Vayu. We also said that that sthiti, that after you have taken up on Vayu and you stay there, that sthiti is the Shiva Avastha, that sthiti is the Brahma Avastha. So same, whatever name you call, is really a material. That sthiti is the Shiva Avastha. And the Spandan that is happening either in Apara, which goes inside, or in Prana. Whenever there is a Spandan, whenever there is activity, that represents as a energy, as a Shakti. So it's the same Shakti, Shiva's Shakti only. There is no difference between Shiva and Shakti. It's Shiva's Shakti only. So that Shakti manifests in the form of energy, and then we do that Prana upon, and then when we do the Kumbhak, it is the Shiva Avastha and Shakti Avastha. So in outside also when we do Kumbhak, it is a Shiva Avastha, it's a Brahma Avastha, and inside also when you do it Shiva. But when it is said inside Shiva, outside Shakti, that flow of energy, that is actually Spandan, is the Shakti, which is referred here. So we have seen that, and then it's usage in 3-stage. Then we also seen Vastrika Pran, that we do the Vastrika Pran, all these our bodies energized. It also increases our capacity, and then we tap that energy using the Vyan and Apana, using the Vyan and Samanvai by applying locks. So here Prana is there, here Apana is there, you apply the bandhas, the locks. All these things are covered in your happiness program and your advanced course. So if you are not yet done, kindly go and do this. You'll be able to learn all these things practically. So we do that, we tap that energy. Then what we do, we also see in the pranayama. In pranayama, what we do, we continue to give a direction to the prana. That is the ayama. Ayama means giving a direction. So that is what we do, pranayama. So various types of pranayama, 3-stage pranayama, Nadi Shodhan pranayama, mudras also we do, mudra pranayama. So in the mudra, we redirect when we do different mudras. In that we are redirecting that energy to different parts of your body. So that covers your mudras also. That is also using all these ayamas of this prana. So you have seen Panch Prana and its usage and the Kumbhak, and what we take is also called as Purak, since you are giving breathe in, and the outward goes is also called as Rechak. Exhalation is called as Rechak, the inhalation is called as Purak. So Purak, and in between what we hold, that hold is nothing but Purak. When you do it, hold the breath inside, it's Antar Kumbhak. When you hold the breath outside, it's Bahya Kumbhak. So uses of all that, and how do we actually practice it is what we already see. Then what happens when all these things continues, when you practice all these things, then you are established in that Shivasa, when you focuses in this both the ways. Here Bhushund is telling now this is what exactly I did. I did this Pran Nirodh. Pran Nirodh means what is the flow of your prana that goes in, for some point of time you stop it. That is what is Kumbha. You breathe in and then stop it. That is called a Nirodha. Prana Spandan Nirodha. You stop that prana flow upon and prana in between that junction of that is called as that Shiva Avastha, that Brahma Avastha. That is what we need to focus on. Using that also we can attain the self-realization. And he says that even the flow of breath also. The breath starts from here and you flow with the breath. You go and you focus on that also. Using that also we do this. All if you see the meditations in, we actually do the meditation on the breath. We follow the breath and then we be with the breath. And then we ultimately get into meditative state. So this is what has been explained here. Then both that Nirodha and that Kumbhak, observing it there, and also the speed of your breath, the temperature of your breath, basically being your breath both days. Prana Vigyan, Prana Apana Gati Vigyan is what she said. Earlier we saw Prana Spana Nirodha, means stopping, Kumbhak. Now the Gati, observing the speed of that, also one can get into this. Then he says that when that happens, when the Kumbhak happens, that point of time, the concept of this Desh and Kal also is not there, because it's a Shiva Avastha, it's a Brahma Avastha. So that point of time, the Desh and Kal, the boundaries, unlimited, there are no boundaries. You experience the infiniteness. Then you also don't experience the time also there. Your chitta stops, your thought stops, and even the kala, that time also seems to stop over there. That is the exact reason when we do 20-30 minutes of meditation. I have heard these Rishi Munis 300 years they have done the tapacharya. We've seen this in Vidyaskis, and he felt that he just passed on some few hours here and there. Why so? Because they do not experience the time. The time seems to pause. The time seems to stop. Because when you reach that Shiva Avastha, there is no time, there is no boundaries. It's limitless. No? It's timeless. You establish yourself in that. So both the things appears to stop when you do this. Now, because of this thing, they people who are yogis and people who practices this, they establish themselves into this. They can live the longer life. That is how he said that is how I become Chiranjeevi, by doing all these practices. Then this is also related to when we talk about this Kumbhak here. Bhushund said this is the exact thing which is in Shrutis it referred as I am not this, I am not this, I am not this body, I am not this. All these things are there, but I am not this. I am the one. That Shiva, that nothingness, that state, that stability. No, we are that. So that is what is being explained. Said. Then he continues to explain this to Vaashishtha Anta Kumbhak. Same sthiti, Bahya Kumbhak, same sthiti, and then he goes. Now he says that see all these things, the people, we already seen that we have seen the sunrise, we seen the sunset, and then we see the moon rising and moon is setting, and in between all these things we see that Sandhi Kala. We also say na the Sandhya Kala is in also Shakal we say when before your basically dawns, not that dawn. So before your sun is rising and the night is disappeared, the time between that in the morning and when your sun is set and your night is not started, in between that evening. So that is the time period which all the human beings have seen it, they experienced it. That is something which is there in the Srishti, that is there in the stool. That is there in this which we observe. That experience is there, but the same thing is happening with your prana and apana. In between your prana and between your apana, when you take a pause, it is that sandhya kala, it is that dawning in the morning, right before the sunrise, right after the sunset, that period. It is that period that one need to focus on. And this is all the reason probably the Sandhya Vandan and all those things, they do, that point of time. I offer the argya to the sun in the morning and the sun. So all these things, why at that point of time? That as part of your karma kanda. So probably the real reason behind it is to observe this apana, stop, prana, stop. What we do in stage pranayam also. So focus on that, be aware of this knowledge and be. So that because of the normal people do all these things, observe all these things, just because this knowledge is not there with him or for their own prana, their own self, what is happening with their body, what is happening their own self, they cannot have, they are not aware about it. That is what our Bhushund tells to. And once become follows this, once do this practice, he says, hey Rishi, the yogis knows. He also mentions that we have now seen this prana and apana. Is it the self? Is prana is atma itself? We many times confuse the prana with atma. We say iska prana nikal gaya. Prana nikal gaya means we say iska atma has left. Atma has not left anywhere. Atma is anyway there. So here Bhushund is saying that this prana leaves you. That means you stop breathing. The prana, that prakriya, that spandan is no more there when you are dead. That still happens when you are alive. So you stop it for some time, but that time you are not dead. Why? Is because that self Chaitanya Shakti is still there, which is keeping you alive, even if for some time you do the Kumbhak in between. But does this prana means atma or a self, or the apana means self? Bhushund is telling me no. The prana, Shakti of prana is the source is atma. So it's like the flower is there and the flower has a fragrance. So that fragrance is the self, that Atma. And the flower is this prana. So the prana Shakti, the Shakti of prana comes from the self. So that is what the Atma. Same goes with Apana also. So that Apana things, the Shakti which is there is the Atma. So that is the Prana and Apana both are not Atma, the self, but they derive the Shakti, the energy from the self itself. So that is the thing said. Then he said that, hey Rishi, even all these Indriyas, also the 5 Indriyas, 5 senses, they also derive Shakti from this Pana, and it comes to it via Atma. So I do the Upasana. Now he comes back to the main point. After explaining all these things, now he starts telling again about the Atma Jnana, because now he has realized what is the real source. It was not that Apana which he initially started focusing on and practice on, and then realized. And then he realized that when I actually focus on the by Kumbhak and hold there, at that point in time, I realized that this body is separate. If I see that avastha of Bhaya Kumbha, that external hold, as the Shiva avastha, Brahma avastha, I know it is there. So this body is separate from that. So this is how I can separate my Atma, separate than this body. So that is the discrimination power, that Viveka comes into picture. Yes, this is where that Shiva avastha is there. I am separated. And it happens the same thing with when you know the Antar Kumbha. I am that Shiva avastha. This body is separate than that. So that is both way it helps. When the Apana ends or the Prana ends, that avastha, that avastha. So he explains that, and then he says that it is that avastha, it is that Atma, it is that Chidatma. To that I worship. No? So he says that Prana means the one which is the source of prana. And in all the jivitas, in all the alive, the one which is the one which is the supreme. And then the one itself have taken this body, assume this body. That Chidatma, why we worship to that? Why he's coming back to the, I know, he's coming back to the source. He has become Atmani. Then he says that this mind, the mind which continues to here and here and it keeps wandering here, to that mind also the one which provides the energy. Now, then the buddhi, the intellect, that intellect also, where does it get that knowledge, that discrimination, that pragya. And then this ahankara, also all this stuff is also, it is there irrespective of that. This nirmal karan is the one which is pure, the one which is simple, the one which is beyond all these things. Because of this, all these vikaras, this distortion does not come into you. That Atma, to that Swava, to that consciousness is what I worship. Then he says that all the other things dissolves into that one Sarva Vyakti, which is omnipresent, omnipotent, it is there, Sarva Vyakta, to that we worship. He continues everything, whatever that we see, which all your Akasha, all the 5 elements, Akasha, Vayu, the earth element, all these things, then your Shraddha, then the Prana, your Apana, into all these things that appears to be formed in the form of Jiva, this even individual consciousness in the body which we represent. In that also, the one which gives power, empowers them, is that Atma, that Chidatma. Because of this only it has this Vaibhav. Because of this only it has this, all this power and this, to that Shreshta, that supreme Atma. I have bowed down, I have surrendered myself to that, and I do upasana, I surrender and pray to that alone. Then he explains what was the reasons for his Chiranjeevi, means he had become immortal. So he stayed there for such a long time. What was the reason behind that? He said that this, when I used to do this prana and apana, and in between that kumbhak. It is that point of time I used to be in an equanimous state. Hmm? So that is what that equanimous state that I have experienced, either in the Antarkumbha or Biokumbha, and even while observing speed and following breath. Because of that only I came to this self-realization and this equanimous state, and that Bheda means that discrimination, this is good, that is bad, this is the that has been completely destroyed. All the vikaras, the lobha, the modes, all these vikaras also destroyed. Asakti is going outward, that cravings of going outward of five senses, that is also completely diminished. And because of this, I have seen that Samadrishti, that Brahma Drishti, that Shiva Sthiti, which sees everything. So I do not consider something as good, something as bad. Hmm? So from still the Utpatti, since from the starting of the creation till the Mahapralaya happens, I have seen with a complete dhairya, with that complete passion, complete patience. I have seen all these things happening, and I kept on focusing on this prana. Hmm? So then he says that I do not bother about whatever has happened in the past. Hmm? I do not bother about that, whatever will happen to me in future. I don't do any chintan of that. I don't bother about that. No? I just always be in this moment, and I just be in this present moment only. Hmm? And then I just be an ultimate observer here. The things happens around, the actions happens around. I self go and do multiple actions. I do this, I do that, I did. But there is still that iota of that I am doing it. That kartapan, that bhav of karta, the doership is not there. I just see that as an ultimate observer. I just do it as sakshiva. I just hope that the things are just happening on its own. All the Atmajnana, whatever Vaashishtha Muni already explained us in multiple ways. Now Kaka Bhushund is sharing this with Vaashishtha Muni. He says that even the body's consciousness also have dropped this. I don't consider this body conscious that I am this body. So that also I have dropped. Then I have dropped this mind also. This mind which is no such chanchal. It keeps going here and there. It keeps doing all the shokas, dukkha's, happy, I am unhappy, all these shokas. No, it has all then the moment I have attained that swatma. Swatma means swa atma, self. When I have attained, I go and there, I become so calm. I become so blissful there. And that is where I have stayed. Because of that, I have been alive, all these things. Then outward things also, the objects also, I think that this either I accept or reject, that thing is not there. When I go and travel here and there, when I stay back, when I sit, when I stand, in all these things, when I eat and when I see all the grass, in all these things, whatever I see, in this, I see it with an equanimous state, with samana drishti. I do not do any discrimination there, and because of that only I remain happy. Then also I do not do this, that this is wise, this is fool, this is my brother, this is my enemy. Praising someone, not or doing any ninda, means cursing someone, um, thinking something bad about someone, all such things, all those tendencies or these events, I just stay myself away from this, and with an ekagrata, with the complete concentration and focus, I just focus on my hridaya, and in that hridaya, that heart, is the one thing that exists, is that Chidatma. I just focus on that. That is where I just focus, and because of that only, I remain happy and become a Chiranjeevi, become immortal. Means he has understood his immortal nature of his life. Then when there is a Sampatkali, means when here he is having a lot of wealth of happiness, and on that he goes and becomes friends with everybody. But when he gets into Apattikal, is when he just be with him or any dukkha or anything, he just go and become mount silence. He just stay with himself, for some time, and with a patience, with a remains stable. And because of that only, in the sukha and dukkha, means the happiness and sorrow also, all these things they just remain that Chidatma. And now he says that after telling every possible thing, he says, "Hey Prabhu, what is it that more that I tell you? No, this things in this entire creation, I am just like a small insect." Huh? See how he is now saying, no? There is no idea of ahankara. There is no ego. He said, like, in this entire creation, look at me. I'm not there. I'm just like a small insect. I'm there, and then I'm doing all these things. Things is now just because that you have asked me to speak about it. I took my effort to talk about it, and I shared this thing with you, Sister Mani. And it is where by saying all just because of you have done that, means you have just asked me just as an obedient thing. He is now showing his obedience also. Yes, I have been obedient, and I just followed your words to respect your honor, your words. I have just shared all these things with you. In reality, to this entire world, I'm nothing. I'm nowhere. No, look at his circle. It has politeness. No? So that is the way he says that. And means now it comes a turn of Vaashishtha. It's a drama. I, after hearing all these things, I also understand. Hey Pakshiraj, I have traveled so many, have places here and there in all the three bhuvanas, in all the 14 bhuvanas. I have traveled Pathaloka, Swargaloka. I can travel everywhere, but it is very, very difficult to find one such wise person. And then in that also the person like you, the being that realize so enlightened person like you, again it is more difficult in that. And you have been experiencing all these things, and still you are so polite, still you ask for it. So to you, even I bow down. No? He does even naman to the Bhushund. And then after doing that, he says, it's all that. Now you also go. I do not want to trouble you anymore without speaking about all these things. You also go and rest now. Rest well, rest, and then I will also go back to my Saptamandala, the Trishi Mandala. I'll also go. But despite of saying this cock, the crow, actually travels with him. But the way we go, no, when somebody comes, at the guest at, or when they are going, you go with them. No? At some places, oh, let me go till the bus stop, or little at the train station, we go then. No, it is that thing. So exactly the same thing, even Kakabushan, the crow also. From some distance, it travels along with Vaashishtha, and then Vaashishtha somehow says, "It's fine now, you go back. I will also go." That is how I took his. He said bye to him, and I also came back, and that is where this particular chapter ends. From tomorrow, he says that what is the Shiva sadhana? What is the Shiva upasana? Atma sadhana is related to Shiva sadhana. So that thing will start tomorrow, and we'll look at it. But today, I'll take a pause. I'd like to hand over this session to all of you so that you can quiz and we can have a brainstorm session over here. Just like we do every single day, we can adopt to that method. Over to you all. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev. As usual, Someshwarji, it was really very, very wonderful. Beautifully, you took it ahead. And the first takeaway of mine is what the Bhushanda says, how he has gained the purity and how he is not disturbed, even when the Mount Meru is shaken up. Okay, and how he is in the total equanimity, whether he's walking, sleeping, standing, whether he's awake or he's dreaming, his vision is turned upon himself now. So instead of outside, now it is looking inside, within. So that is very nice. And how he rests in the self. And with all the conditions of the life, whatever changes may take place in this world or in this environment, he says, I lived right from the time of the previous cosmic dissolution. So this is how the Bhushanda gives his status of where he is. Yeah. And so, okay, this is the first one. We'll have a next round, of course. So over to anyone else who can say yes. Yes, Binaji, over to you. Jai Gurudev.
जय गुरुदेव। मुझे जो इनिशियली आपने बताया उसको थोड़ा सा एक्सप्लेन करेंगे कि जब बोलते हैं कि बहुत सारे बर्थ लिए, बहुत सारी रामायण लिखी गई, व्हाट डज इट मीन? इट्स लाइक रामायण भी क्या लिखा गया था इसके पहले भी? क्या इसके पहले भी वेदास कई बार, हालांकि वेदास तो एक बार में नहीं लिखा, इट्स अ कंटिन्यूअस प्रोसेस। तो वो इनिशियली जो आपने स्टार्ट किया था वो थोड़ा सा मुझे समझ में नहीं आया था. Can you explain that one again?
Yeah, sure. Actually, it was yesterday's recap. So when Vaashishtha Muni tells him that, let me know what has happened with you to Kak Bhushund, this is where the Kak Bhushund shares this thing with him, that I have seen all these things happening. He has seen multiple yugas, he has seen multiple Brahmandas getting created like this. He said the one Brahmanda which you are in, exactly like this I have seen the 10 Brahmandas. He is referring to the Hindu Putras, 10 Brahmanda which you have seen. No, Vaashishtha Muni has told us the story about there were Hindu Putras, 10 Hindu Putras. They also created their own Brahmanda exactly like this universe, exactly like this, and they become the Brahma of that. No, so he says, I have seen that all these things has happened in front of me. Because he's a Chiranjeevi, na? He's immortal. So he has seen all these things. He said, even to Vaashishtha Muni, this is your 8th birth. You have not come here first time. You have taken multiple birth. This Rama also taken multiple. He says, I have seen n number of Vishnus coming here. I have seen n number of Brahmadevs coming over here. So these,
does it mean the celestial bodies they are referring? Because they have given the name to the universe, these energies. You know, they they were really exist, or they were talking about the different layers of the celestial bodies, and or you can say ब्रह्मांड भी तो एक ब्रह्मांड नहीं है, कई सारे ब्रह्मांड है, कई सारे. तो क्या उनके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, क्या कर रहे हैं?
No, he is telling that this Brahman which we are in now, this gets created every day for Brahma. We have seen that earlier, right? Brahma wakes up in the morning, he creates this Brahman like this. That is, his one day, one kalpa means 4 yugas are passed over here, and then the pralaya happens. This will be destroyed. This will be completely destroyed, and then.
But Brahma is not a person, no. It is an energy. Am I right?
Yes, yes. So you look at it from that perspective, it's not even energy. Brahma is just a character here, which is in the chitta of the Brahma. You are saying Brahma Dev is different here and Brahma is different here. There are two things. What you are referring to, the one who got an responsibility of the creation. It is the Brahma Dev, the God Brahma Dev, and Vishnu, the God Vishnu, and then the Rudra Dev. Above all this, 3 of them, above all this is Brahma. That Shiva, Brahma, Shiva, Chaitanya, Ishwar, Atma, whatever you call it, it's immaterial. We have given these names. So when you say that all these characters which are came into picture, it is just in the chitta of Brahma Kash. No, usually we confuse this. Brahma and Brahmadev is same. It's not. Brahmadev is just one creator, the Dev. Brahmadev. Like this, n number of Brahmas are there. He said, no, that I am the Brahmadev. There are 10 more Brahmadev, that Indraputra. They become Brahmadev of their universe. The one who is the creator. You are also Brahmadev. You have created your own universe. We have created our own universe. We stay in our own universe only. हमने ही अपना विश्व बना लिया है. अपने ही विश्व में रहते हैं हम लोग. So that is the Vishwa of your Chitta. It is the Brahmand is not physically created. Brahmand is created in the Chitta. In the Chitta, when it says that the Chitta of Brahman, means we are not referring to Brahmadev. Let's call Shiva. Let's call Chaitanya. So that confusion will not. In that Chaitanya, that ultimate thing which we do not know really what that is. Nobody knows. If somebody is telling you that they know is, forget about it. That's wrong. So somebody said, I know that. It's not something to be known. something which you don't know, but to refer, to have an interaction, you have to refer that, no? Something which you just don't know, we refer to that as a Atma, as a Brahma, as a Shiva, Chaitanya, consciousness, multiple names. Now what happens to that? It wants to create. This is actually Utpatti Prakaran. The church probably so these questions are coming. So what happens there? That Chaitanya comes into picture, that Puran comes into picture. That I want to do something. Why? No reason. Just like a wave comes in the ocean, that wave comes that I want to express myself. Now when that expression comes into, that is called a Chaitanya, means it going outward than yourself. Going outward. And then that Ahankara comes into picture, feeling of something I am separate than yourself. All this happening at the level of one, the one, Atma level, or the Brahma level, or the Shiva level. Now what happens? Because of this Chaitya, it creates the Chitta, means the mind. That Chitta now is imagining all these things, projecting it, all these things. What it is projecting, that Chitta of the Brahma is called the Brahmakash, or it is also called the Chidakash. And in that Chidakash, there are n number of Chittakash. Means Bina Chittakash is there, Someshwar Chittakash is there, Sangitaji Chittakash is there in the Chidakash. And in the, means our Chitta is also imaginary. In Brahmadev, Brahma, Shiva, his Chitta is also imaginary. Chitta कुछ होता है क्या? मन होता है क्या ये? कि चीज है क्या मन? नहीं. Mind doesn't exist. So in that Chitta, he is imagining all these things, and because of that, his world is an unreal world. So you are also unreal. I am also unreal. This celestial bodies, this universe, what you see, is also real, and not one, multiple. And how does it create? The Brahmadev. Now what you are referring to as Brahmadev, that God Brahmadev, who has been depicted as 4 heads, actually it was 5. The 5th one was chopped by Shiva. There is a story behind it. So the 4th, that Brahmadev, he has a responsibility of creating this world. Then there is another god called Vishnu, who has the responsibility of maintaining this world. And then there is Rudra, who has the responsibility of destroying. And how does it happen? Now this is all symbolic again. Just say, so this happens in the Brahmadev, what we refer to as Brahmadev. That Brahmadev was one day, it happens, our Srishti. What we stay here, our Srishti, it gets created every day and it gets destroyed every day in one day. But for us, it is 4.3 million years. For us human, the 4.32 million years have passed. Yeah, when Brahmadev, 4 yugas, 4.32 million years are passed. That is one for the Brahma. When say Brahma's entire life is finished, Vishnu's one life. When say Vishnu's entire life is finished, Rudra's one day. So that is being said. It's just a Mapan. It's just how to calculate the time. But when you say that Shiva, that Brahma, that it is beyond time. Does time exist there? No. There is no time concept. As this time concept, we created it. Kala Mapan, we created it. It's relative in nature. Sapeksha bolte. That is how the theory of relativity is seen. Even from a science perspective, we know that it's relative. It depends upon the gravity. We have seen a movie called Interstellar. Aap dekh lena usko. I have given a review also of that movie, spiritual as well as scientific review of Interstellar movie. And all these things will be very obvious, very clear for there. Take a time there on YouTube also uploaded. Just ping me, I'll share that link. Go through that movie also there and see this what I am talking. These things will become very clear. Very clear. So what he is referring to here, that like this Kaka Bhushund is referring here. See, like this, that Brahma creates that world. No? So I have seen not just that world. I have seen n number of Brahmas coming and going. Brahma Devas coming and going. I have seen the Vishnus also taking birth and going. I have even seen the one Vishnu is taking a responsibility becoming a Brahmadev. Brahmadev is taking a responsibility of Vishnu. I have seen all that in front of me. Now you imagine Kaka Bhushund कौन है? He's saying मैंने देखा है. I have seen this. So he is telling that you think this, you are the one. You are coming here at time. All these Ramayana, Mahabharata, all these things have been written multiple times in multiple past universes. He said 108 times I have seen Buddha coming here.
Oh, it's like how much enlightened those people were.
Correct.
We are not able to imagine of that state where they used to stay at that time, and it was real. That's why.
And in spite of that, he says, I have achieved all these things, not via this Atmagyan. I was just a crow. I did not know. So I just focused on my breath, in and out, Pan Pran, focusing on that in between that Kumbhak, I achieved all these things. And when I achieve all these things, when he ends his conversation, he says this in this entire universe, I am just like an insect. Still that Garva is not there. Ankara is not there. Of who he is. That politeness. Despite knowing everything.
So the secret is hidden over here. That's why every time in pranayama, Gurudev also says, and not only Gurudev, it's like our ancient rishis also, they used to tell, we should focus on our breath, breathe in and out. In between of that, that is the Shiva Tattva which he is talking about. While the more and more are subtle and deep our breath will be, the more you are able to catch that moment. That is a very, very, very sharp edge, breathing and breathe out. In between there is a pause. That's a very, very, you have to try to catch it, to expand it, not catch it, it's not the right word, but to expand that moment. It's a samadhi. That is Shiva Tattva.
That is exactly what we did in 3-stage pranayama. What is that hold is? In 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. What that hold is? It's
what is holding? That is a Shiva. So
it's the same thing.
That I love that part, and we are trying our level best. Many times we slip out, many times we comes out and we forget and we just do the kriya, just push. It happens, no, like many times. But when this awareness comes, oh, the real crux is lying here. Don't do just like that. So awareness se karte, this moment will start expanding.
Correct. And here he says, Gurudev says that initially when you practice this, that point of time, even if you are not aware about those words, those philosophies, this knowledge, he says it's okay. Thus he tells us.
When the live Sadguru is there, he can give us experience. Absolutely. That is the beauty.
Yeah, itna sa purpose kya hai, itna sab janne ka, is to dawn that gratitude towards the master. कि देखो गुरु ने हमें क्या और कभी जताया नहीं कि मैं तुम्हें कितना दे, सब ब्रह्म ज्ञान ही दे रहे हैं एक्चुअली. अब कभी जताते भी नहीं कि मैं कुछ दे रहा हूँ तुम्हें. हाँ, ऐसे प्यार से देते रहते. That gratitude, he has given us so much. अभी वो ऐसे ये हो रहा है. It's just opening up. So really amazing. Have that gratitude towards the master.
मेरे ख्याल से और को भी बोलना चाहिए कि चिरंजीवी होने के क्या क्वालिटीज हैं. Others also can speak out.
बिल्कुल. Over to everybody. If you were to take, that was a question that which we are discussing with Binaji. But now we'll open up this session for other takeaways, whatever we have discussed yesterday, today. If you'd like to contribute some more takeaways, your angle, आपका viewpoint, आप जरूर आपको अपने आप को एक्सप्रेस कर सकते हो. Sangeeta, would you like to carry forward?
Yeah. So from yesterday we have been seeing the how the crow is, breathing in different ways. The pranas, incoming, outgoing, pran, apan, all those, and the nadis which we saw, Sushmada nadi, and all the other 72,000 nadis which are going on in our body. So all these are giving a very broad look to everything that we really want to know about it. So that is all also very good. And plus, of course, there are many other things. Again, it is how this body, this mental conditioning that we have to live and witness the intelligence which is there, just like lighting a lamp and going ahead and the place shines, and there is no more ignorance, no more darkness when the light comes in. So he has been going through all this crow for so many yugas that he's saying, going through all this. And he's telling us also about what was that? It's not striking me now. So many of the plenty other things also, like how he has been practicing on that, and then okay, and wherever he is, he's spreading that radiance, because the tree itself was also very, green and very flourishing with all the flowers and the fragrance. So it is that also how he's been spreading that light and love across around. So that was another one. And others can also take a chance by the time we come up with many more are there points to be shared now. Yeah.
Here there is a question, Savita ji is asking, is time multi-dimension?
Yeah, is time multi-dimension? That is what the question is, Savita ji is asking.
So let us look at it, what time is. Now to understand dimension, right now हम जो देख रहे हैं स्क्रीन पे, आपके स्क्रीन पे, what is it? Is it 2D, 3D? कितने dimension जो आप देख रहे हो अभी? Either on a mobile or on a laptop or on a desktop. How many dimensions are there? Any guess?
I think it's a three-dimensional only, not more than that.
तो फिलहाल तो 2 dimension है स्क्रीन, आपकी जो स्क्रीन दिखाई दे रही है. Is there a depth there? No, right?
No,
Z नहीं है ना, third dimension स्क्रीन पे नहीं है actually. But when you are in a real world, it's a screen. So screen पे दिख क्या है आपको? It's a 2 dimension. 2 dimension दिख रहे हैं हमको, right? X and Y. Then let's say in real world, when you actually pick up anything, let's say cube, then हम लोग उस cube को देखते हैं, उसकी depth हमें दिखाई देती है, right? We see the depth of that. That is because of the third dimension. Z जो direction होता है वो Z. तो अपनी पूरी दुनिया जो है ना, right now हम लोग जो physical dimension की बात करते हैं, सविता जी, that is a 3-dimensional दुनिया. What we see, it's a 3-dimension. And in this 3-dimension, we are now seeing a time. Time is not a dimension for us, but time is still important. How it is important? If I give you the coordinates, means in this 3-dimension, what is that we say? X, Y, Z, no? Or the coordinates of one particular place. Latitude, longitude is what we give. If we give that and say, okay, I want to meet at this location because that's X, Y, Z. Exact location. If you have a quadrant, if you have to say exact location, you have to say X, Y, Z coordinate of that. And let's say that is given. I want to meet. What the person will ask? When? Yog Vaashishtha का session हो रहा है. When? कब हो रहा है? No? So that time is also very important along with these 3 coordinates. Then and only one can go and meet somebody. So that time is already there considered, but it's not considered as a physical dimension. So if you watch the movie called Interstellar, that time also becomes a dimension for you when you goes beyond this gravity. When you goes beyond, you go into subtle space, another space where you look at this thing as the 3 dimensions plus time also as a 4th dimension. And when you are there, you are observing that. And that is the main reason why that hero of the movie is able to interact with his daughter when she was a child. When she grows, he is the one who is giving her inputs. How is that possible? Because the time is just there in front of him, like another fourth dimension. He can pick up, I want to go into this time frame now, interact with the daughter. I want now this what I'm talking is will not make sense if you have not seen the movie, but that is the fourth dimension. You see this time as a fourth dimension. So that is this. So right now that's not reality for us, but the one who goes beyond this body consciousness, for them even the time is also, it's just a physical dimension for them. They are beyond this linear concept of time, past, present, future. Trikala jisko कहते हैं ना, there is a term called Trikala Darshi. They are the one, they are able to see the past, future and present, because for them it's there. So that for them this dimension is also physical dimension. But science is yet to discover that, how to do that. Ha, Binaji, go ahead.
In my point of view, what who has asked? I don't know.
Savita.
She has asked them: is time is multidimensional? Actually, time is not multidimensional. It is a relatively, we are considering it. We have put a parameter, like हमें कुछ तो parameter रखना है ना. So if you will go in another planet, the way you have told, no, that the time changes, that the time, our whole thing gets changed. So it's a relativity which is set by us, in order to make it convenient for us to find. How will you find out that what is your age? How will you have to fix up something like 365 days is a 1 year. That 1 year counting, we are counting. Otherwise, God hasn't sent us with the concept of time and all. But yogis, when they will reach to that beyond that level of consciousness, then they will find that time dissolves. There is no time. So time actually counts, in my point of view, when we are dealing with the worldly affairs. But when you will go deep into the meditation, it's not multidimensional. It is just vacuum. Time is nothing. It's just vacuum. It is not moving also, not still also. What I heard when I was listening to the different talks of the Gurudev and other, that I understood. I don't know. I may be wrong also. If I'm wrong, please correct it.
Wrong. What you are referring to as that when you pass this universe, something else, no, beyond this 3 dimension and its universe, that is a subtle body. At the level of subtle body, that is time it's possible. That is what he achieves actually. When he goes beyond physical body, when you are in a physical body and you are traveling from one planet to another planet, your concept of time will change because it's relative. But still he is there, one body. He's still living his life. He is not dead yet. His 100 years of life, whatever is being given to him, he's still living that. On the planet Earth, his daughter gets old age. He's still living, because for him just few hours have passed, but for here it is 21 years are passed on the planet Earth. When he goes to the planet, why this difference is there? That is because of the gravity. But till this point of time, this theory of relativity, this sapekshata, is still real here. It's not imaginary. It is still real. Einstein's theory of relativity proves this. E is equal to mc square. So that mass, that gravity is there. Because of the difference in the gravity, we feel that time difference. So it is sapeksha. It's the feeling. Now, when we say that this time is a multi-dimensional, you have to go beyond this physical reality. Now, how do we? You go from one planet to another planet, you are still physically there. You go from here to moon, it is still physical. You are still there in the same body. Your life was not ended yet. What Savita ji is asking, that is beyond this. You are beyond this. Means you are not in your body consciousness. You go from beyond body consciousness, you go at the subtle body. That is where this Saraswati and this Leelavati goes travel. That is at the level of subtle body, through mind. At the level, not even mind, something Linga Deha. No, it is through that Linga Deha, she goes and then they travel. And that point of time, they are able to see. They are able to see that next birth of her husband. She is able to see that. And this is a little bit complex if you have not heard the background, or if you have not seen the Interstellar movie, because you need an example, no? So to understand this. So it is that thing what she is referring to, Savitaji. And this is not this Sapekshata which you have mentioned. Sapekshata, this relative is still in this universe. Because this universe itself has that other planet, and this planet also still it is physical. It is physical reality. From a science, we can experience it. But the one which she is asking, that science has not yet discovered. Science has not yet discovered access to the time. No, we cannot go. Can we go and talk to this person, this person? We are not able to do that. We have to go beyond gravity. And that's what happens with that hero. What he ends up into that black hole. So
yeah, I was just, you had taken my word. I was just about to tell that. Black hole is the word, they are trying to discover it out, although not yet discovered.
Correct.
Yeah. But that is, if the moment they will find out this concept, they will understand. Actually, honestly speaking, it's a perennial river which is flowing. Time is neither dimensions, neither have any it's like time bounds. It is just a concept which you can feel, you can realize, and we yogis, they try to come out from that particular time period. That is why you feel karoge ki when you are into meditation, no, you feel 1 hour is gone, still you feel as if 5 minutes you are. That is the time.
So that is experiencing the time.
Experiencing.
Yeah.
I would like to just add one more thing. As Veena ji said, that जब हम ध्यान करते हैं तो 1 घंटा बैठे होते हैं, लेकिन लगता है कि 5 मिनट बैठे हैं। और जब हम रेगुलर ध्यान करते हैं तो बहुत ही शॉर्ट पीरियड के लिए, एंड आप लोगों में से कुछ लोगों ने इसका एक्सपीरियंस भी किया होगा, जिसे तुरीय अवस्था कहते हैं। हम एक ऐसी स्टेज पे आ जाते हैं जो कि मेरे लिए केवल स्प्लिट सेकंड्स के ही लिए हुई है, कि टाइम स्टॉप्स फॉर अस। और उस समय अगर हम सोचने की भी कोशिश करें तो माइंड में कोई थॉट नहीं आता, हमें अपनी एग्जिस्टेंस के हम बैठे हुए हैं वो भी फील नहीं होता, एंड टाइम स्टॉप्स फॉर अस, विच इज वेरी स्प्लिट सेकंड। और हमारी इस समय ह्यूमंस की कैपेसिटी वहीं तक है, इससे आगे अभी हम नहीं, मतलब पर्सनली मैं फील करती हूँ कि हम उसके आगे मैं नहीं जा पाई हूँ, कि जिससे मैं कि उसके बियॉन्ड भी जा सकूं, वो नहीं हो सका है। तो आप भी गुरुजी सर, आप भी कुछ ऐड करिए इसमें, और वीना जी आप भी ऐड करिए।
हम है ना, जब चैंटिंग सुनते हैं ना, आपने देखा होगा जब रुद्र पूजा चलती है तो आप पूरा 45 मिनट्स की रुद्र पूजा होती है, जैसे ही स्टार्ट होता है and you just close your eyes and you lost, and the moment it stops you open your eyes suddenly, exactly at the time. What is this? This is the whole is the Turiya Avastha. So don't say कि वो split of seconds में, और ये तभी संभव होता है जब लाइव सदगुरु होता है ना आपके सामने और आपकी सराउंडिंग्स में, उसका प्रभाव, क्योंकि उसका ऑरा इतना पावरफुल होता है कि उसमें अगर आप बैठ के ये सब करते ना, आपको ये लॉन्गर पीरियड भी होता है। पर हम क्या समझते हैं, अरे मुझे तो नींद आ गई, तो नींद नहीं होती है एक्चुअली में, वो यही होता है। तो आप वो डिफरेंशिएट, इट्स वेरी थिन लाइन बिटवीन द स्लीप,
यस या बिकॉज अवेयरनेस होती है उसमें। अगर कोई आपको कॉल करेगा तो आप सुनेंगे, नींद में आप नहीं सुनते। व्हेन यू आर इन स्लीप यू डोंट लिसन। hear anything.
इनफैक्ट
इसमें
कई
आप
बार
सुन सकते हैं लेकिन
इनफैक्ट
you
इसमें
are
क्या,
almost gone.
इसमें कई बार आपने महसूस किया होगा सडनली
जी
छोटा सा भी पिन भी ड्रॉप होता है तो आपको लगता है जैसे बड़ा सा बॉम्ब फूटा, isn't it? आपको तो छोटा सा भी डिस्टरबेंस होता है तो कोई इतना विजिबल दिखाई मतलब फील होता है। ऐसे
एक्चुअली
में
गुरु जी की प्रेजेंस में भी ये फीलिंग आती है। जब मुझे मतलब सौभाग्य से कई बार ऐसा अनुभव हुआ कि मैं गुरु जी के सामने एकदम फ्रंट में बैठ के उनको सुना और उनसे मिलने का, तो जितनी भी देर हम उनके वो हमारे सामने थे, हमारे लिए बाकी सब कुछ इधर उधर बंद हो चुका था, हमें कुछ दिखाई सुनाई नहीं दे रहा था और कितने टाइम हम वहां सामने बैठे रहे वो हमें वो भी नहीं पता।
पता ही नहीं चला।
एक मतलब समाधि लग गई उनके सामने।
तो ये क्या तुर्य नहीं है? ये तो
हाँ हाँ बिल्कुल
आप
आप
बोल
कह
रहे थे
सकते
ना,
हैं। हाँ
आप जो बोल रहे थे ना स्प्लिट, वो स्प्लिट ऑफ सेकंड्स एक्चुअली में हाँ होता होगा इनिशियल स्टेज पे। अब जैसे 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 आगे बढ़ते जाएंगे ना
मतलब
आपको
स्प्रिट जो
फील
है वो
होगा।
जब मैं पर्सनली अकेले बैठी हुई हूँ और
हाँ
ध्यान
तब
कर रही
थॉट्स
हूँ,
आते हैं या कुछ ऐसा
हाँ
होता है।
तब कुछ टाइम ऐसा आता है और हो सकता है जो मैंने स्प्लिट सेकंड फील किया वो लंबा हो और मैंने नहीं ऐसा, लेकिन आई मीन आई वाज टोटली गॉन, मुझे नहीं पता मैं कहाँ थी और ये
इसीलिए ना,
एक बहुत ही ब्लिसफुल एक्सपीरियंस होता है,
इसीलिए
बहुत ही
गुरुदेव
ब्लिसफुल।
गुरुदेव गुरुदेव बोलते हैं कि 3 चीजें सबसे बड़ी ऑब्स्ट्रक्शंस हैं हमारे
जी
को मेडिटेशन में आगे बढ़ाना। सेल्फ डाउट, डाउटिंग ऑन योरसेल्फ,
जी
डाउटिंग ऑन योर मास्टर एंड डाउटिंग ऑन योर नॉलेज। पहले तो आप ट्रस्ट कर लो कि हम हैं, गुरुदेव जब है, मेरा मास्टर इतना बड़ा महान है तो हम उसके पास बैठे हैं तो हम भी हैं, कुछ तो है। पहले ये मान के चलिए, मैं ये ईगो से नहीं बोल रही हूँ, बी
यस
हम्बल, बट अपने अंदर ये
हाँ
विश्वास करके चलो कि मैं वो ले जा रहा है मुझे, बस दैट्स ऑल। और बाकी सब भूल जाइए कि नहीं हो रहा है, हो रहा है, कभी नहीं भी हो रहा है तो छोड़ दीजिए, होता है पर सब कुछ आनंदम आनंदम, कुछ भी नहीं छूटा है, छूटेगा, है ना।
सोमेश्वर गुरु जी आप भी कुछ बताएं।
नहीं नहीं,
सोमेश्वर जी आप भी इस पर।
मीना जी ने और आपने जो अपना अनुभव एक्सपीरियंस बताया ना, इट्स ब्यूटीफुल स्टेट दैट तुरीय अवस्था, समाधि की अवस्था जो कि लगती है तो अनुभव ही है, सबका ही अनुभव है, तो उसके ऊपर बात करने की आवश्यकता नहीं है। हम लोग जो सविता जो प्रश्न जो था ना, या ये जो टाइम का जो मल्टी डायमेंशन का बात है ना, ये हम लोग उससे कुछ लेना देना ही नहीं उसका, एक्चुअली इट्स अ डिफरेंट थिंग, इट्स एक्चुअली साइंटिफिक प्रैक्टिस से इसे देखना चाहिए। एंड योग वशिष्ठ में ये बहुत क्लैरिटी से बताया गया है। सो यदि टाइम है आपके पास, आई लाइक टू शो one video to let me just see if I'm able to get that. That will give you more clarity on this. Just give me. Meanwhile, you can just continue with your discussion and express your other viewpoint. I'll just see that video if I can get it. If I get it, I'll share with you.
लास्ट में वो जो चिरंजीवी होने की कुछ पॉइंट्स जो बताए हैं, लेट मी सम अप सम ऑफ द पॉइंट्स सो दैट इट विल brush up in our mind that
प्लीज डू प्लीज डू।
in order to get the chiranjeevi means like enlightenment, it's like one has to be no judgment, no it's like good and bad things should not come in your mind, sakshi bhava, then what is this established in yourself, establishing, uh, remain very calm and composed in a very equanimous state, neither so happy nor so sad, whatever is coming, just taking it as very naturally, and ब्रह्म स्थित हो जाना जिसको बोलते हैं, ठीक है ना वो, और living in a present moment, all these qualities has been talked about in this one. साक्षी भाव हो जाना, living in present moment, all these एकाग्रता लेके आना, focused होना, then only you will find that now you are progressed. If इनमें से कुछ qualities नहीं भी है तो let it be, but slowly slowly if you will keep in our mind कि मेरे अंदर अगर कहीं हिल गया है तो try to bring in our with the soul, equanimous state. अगर बहुत ज्यादा खुशी मिल रही है तो कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं हम होश खो बैठे हैं, वो देख लेना है। So yeah, these are the parameters that our Rishijis have, as they have put up over here in front of us. तो हमको वो ध्यान रखना है कि जब भी कभी अगर ओवर एक्साइटमेंट आ रहा है तो क्या हिल तो नहीं गए हम, या बहुत डिप्रेशन में तो नहीं चले गए, बहुत सैडनेस तो नहीं आ गई, है ना, कहीं हम लोगों को जज तो नहीं कर रहे हैं, अगर जज कर रहे हैं तो वो भी देख लेना है। ये छोटी छोटी टिप्स हैं जो we should keep on brush it, then you will find, oh, your aura is becoming clear.
थैंक यू। गीता में जैसे स्थित प्रज्ञ है, उसमें भी कुछ इसी तरह की क्वालिटीज है, नॉट ऑल ऑफ देम, क्योंकि उसको तो उन्होंने बहुत इलेबोरेट किया है गीता में श्लोक बाय श्लोक। पर थैंक यू फॉर शेयरिंग, या थैंक यू फॉर शेयरिंग।
Yeah, we are very fortunate I got that video. Would you like to see that?
Sure.
Okay, I'll share my screen and share.
In discussing the large-scale structure of the cosmos, astronomers sometimes say that space is curved, or that the universe is finite but unbounded. Whatever are they talking about? Let's imagine that we are perfectly flat. I mean absolutely flat, and that we live, appropriately enough, in a flatland, a land designed and named by Edwin Abbott, a Shakespearean scholar who lived in Victorian England. Everybody in flatland is, of course, exceptionally flat. We have squares, circles, triangles, and we all scurry about, and we can go into our houses and do our flat business. Now, we have width and length, but no height at all. No height at all. Now, these little cutouts have some little height, but let's ignore that. Let's imagine that these are absolutely flat. That being the case, we know, us flatlanders, about left-right, and we know about forward-back, but we have never heard of up-down. Let us imagine that into flatland, hovering above it, comes a strange three-dimensional creature which, oddly enough, looks like an apple. And the three-dimensional creature sees an attractive, congenial-looking square, watches it enter its house, and decides in a gesture of interdimensional amity to say hello. Hello, says the three-dimensional creature. How are you? I am a visitor from the third dimension. Well, the poor square looks around his closed house, sees no one there, and what's more, has witnessed a greeting coming from his insides, a voice from within. He surely is getting a little worried about his sanity. The three-dimensional creature is unhappy about being considered a psychological aberration, and so he descends to actually enter flatland. Now, a three-dimensional creature exists in flatland only partially. Only a plane, a cross-section through him can be seen. So when the three-dimensional creature first reaches flatland, it's only the points of contact which can be seen, and we'll represent that by stamping the apple in this ink pad and placing that image in flatland. And as the apple were to descend through, slither by flatland, we would progressively see higher and higher slices, which we can represent by cutting the apple. So the square, as time goes on, sees a set of objects mysteriously appear from nowhere and inside a closed room and change their shape dramatically. His only conclusion could be that he's gone bonkers. Well, the apple might be a little annoyed at this conclusion, and so not such a friendly gesture from dimension to dimension makes a contact with the square from below and sends our flat creature fluttering and spinning above flatland. At first, the square has no idea what's happening. He's terribly confused. This is utterly outside his experience. But after a while, he comes to realize that he is seeing inside closed rooms in flatland. He is looking inside his fellow flat creatures. He is seeing flatland from a perspective no one has ever seen it before to his knowledge. Getting into another dimension provides as an incidental benefit a kind of X-ray vision. Now our flat creature slowly descends to the surface, and his friends rush up to see him. From their point of view, he has mysteriously appeared from nowhere. He hasn't walked from somewhere else. He's come from some other place. They say, "For heaven's sake, what's happened to you?" And the poor square has to say, "Well, I was in some other mystic dimension called up." And they will pat him on his side and comfort him, or else they'll ask, "Well, show us, where is that third dimension? Point to it." And the poor square will be unable to comply. But maybe more interesting is the other direction in dimensionality. What about the fourth dimension? Now, to approach that, let's consider a cube. We can imagine a cube in the following way. You take a line segment and move it at right angles to itself an equal length. That makes a square. Move that square an equal length at right angles to itself, and you have a cube. Now, this cube, we understand, casts a shadow. And that shadow we recognize. It's, ordinarily drawn in third grade classrooms as two squares with their vertices connected. Now, if we look at the shadow of a three-dimensional object in two dimensions, we see that, in this case, not all the lines appear equal. Not all the angles are right angles. The three-dimensional object has not been perfectly represented in its projection in two dimensions, but that's part of the cost of losing a dimension in the projection. Now, let's take this three-dimensional cube and project it, carry it through a fourth physical dimension. Not that way, not that way, not that way, but at right angles to those three directions. I can't show you what direction that is, but imagine that there is a fourth physical dimension. In that case, we would generate a four-dimensional hypercube, which is also called a tesseract. I cannot show you a tesseract because I and you are trapped in three dimensions. But what I can show you is the shadow in three dimensions of a four-dimensional hypercube or tesseract. This is it. And you can see it's two nested cubes, all the vertices connected by lines. And now the real tesseract in four dimensions would have all the lines of equal length and all the angles right angles. That's not what we see here, but that's the penalty of projection. So you see, while we cannot imagine the world of four dimensions, we can certainly think about it perfectly well. Now, imagine a universe just like Flatland, truly two-dimensional, and entirely flat in every direction, but with one exception. Unbeknownst to the inhabitants, their two-dimensional universe is curved into a third physical dimension, maybe into a sphere, but at any rate, into something entirely outside their experience. Locally, their universe still looks flat enough, but if one of them, much smaller and flatter than me, takes a very long walk along what seems to be a straight line, he would uncover a great mystery. Suppose he marked his starting point here and set off to explore his universe. He never turns around and he never reaches an edge. He doesn't know that his apparently flat universe is actually curved into an enormous sphere. He doesn't sense that he's walking around a globe. Why should his space be curved? Because there's so much matter in this universe that it gravitationally warps space, closing it back on itself into a sphere. But our flatlander doesn't know this. After a long while, you'll find he somehow returns to his starting point. There must be a third dimension. Our flatlander couldn't imagine a third dimension, but he could sure deduce it. Now, increase all the dimensions in this story by 1, and you have something like the situation which many cosmologists think may actually apply to us. We are three-dimensional creatures trapped in 3 dimensions. We imagine our universe to be flat in 3 dimensions, but maybe it's curved into a 4th. We can talk about a 4th physical dimension, but we can't experience it. No one can point to the 4th dimension. I mean, there's left, right, and there's forward, back, there's up, down, and there's some other direction simultaneously at right angles to those familiar 3 dimensions.
There are things that happen in quantum physics that kind of defy our sensibilities. Like particles pop in and out of existence. They defy any rational attempt to understand it. Particles can be entangled with one another. A particle can be here, and there's a barrier, and it can spontaneously show up on the other side of the barrier at faster than the speed of light. All of this is just mysterious. Let me ask you, suppose you have a sphere, and I live in a 2-dimensional world, and you take this hollow sphere, so it's a shell, and you pass that sphere through my 2-dimensional universe. How will I describe that? I will say, this point just appeared out of nowhere. Oops, now it's a circle, a small circle. And that circle's getting bigger by the moment. Oh my gosh, oh, it reached a maximum size. Now that circle is just shrinking. It's shrinking. Up, now it's a point. Now the whole thing disappeared. This would be completely freaky to a 2-dimensional being. But it makes complete sense if you live in 3 dimensions and you pass a sphere through my universe. So, who is to say that some of the mysterious things we are describing accurately, but don't otherwise make sense in a higher dimension? And these are just the manifestations of higher dimensional phenomena in our world. And that's an aspect of what these higher dimensional physicists are trying to establish.
At this point...
Now I want to totally blow their minds, if I can.
Oh, sure.
If I may. But you got to stay with me on this, okay? A point has no dimensions. There's no height, width, depth, so it has 0 dimensions. A line has 1 dimension, length, okay? A square has 2 dimensions, sort of height and width. A cube has 3 dimensions, height, width, depth. We got this. Now follow me. A line is 1-dimensional, but it's bounded by 2 0-dimensional things. Those are the points. 1 dimension bounded by 2 0-dimensional points. A square is 2 dimensions bounded by 4 1-dimensional sides. A cube is 3 dimensions bounded by 6 2-dimensional sides. So in other words, the dimensions of your sides are going up. Your line is bound by 0-dimensional points. Your square is bound by 2-dimensional lines. I mean, by 1-dimensional sides. The cube is bound by 2-dimensional squares. Okay? So we're going up 2, 4, 6. 2 points, 4 sides of a square, 6 sides of a cube. And each side is 1 dimension less. They're squares on the sides of a cube. They're lines on the side of a square. They're dots on the sides of a line. Let's go up to a 4-dimensional cube. A 4-dimensional cube has 8 sides. A regular cube had 6 sides. We're going up by 2. A 4-dimensional cube has 8 sides. And each of those sides is a 3-dimensional cube. 1 dimension down from itself. In the same way, each side of a 3-dimensional cube is a 2-dimensional square. So when you get to 4 dimensions, the sides are 3-dimensional surfaces. And you can take this all the way up. And our brains can't picture what we call a hypercube, in some circles a tesseract. We can't picture a volume bounded by 3-dimensional cubes. What does it even mean? This is because we evolved in the plains of Africa, just not wanting to get eaten by a lion. Our neurosynapses are ill-equipped to do the distance on this. And this is why we invent mathematics that can take us there.
So this was just few more pointers, Savita ji, about the 4th dimension. So it's quantum mechanics, quantum physics, and it's a really deep science. If you can understand that, it's well good. If not, just so what karke chhod usko. But other than that, whatever Bina ji has shared, Usha ji has said about the Turiya Avastha, yes, that's all our own experience. We all have experienced that. And that point of time, we do not feel the time as the time, but that is still in physical realm, no? Someone else, that time is still passing. You are not feeling it, but it doesn't mean that the time is not passing. If you have started your meditation at 1 o'clock and you got out of your meditation at 2 o'clock, for you and for everybody, it's still 2 o'clock. Experience of that might not be 1 hour for you. It could be just moments for you. Because you did not realize the time, but time has actually elapsed in a physical realm. So when we say that somebody appears, no, हम लोग जो इसको देखते हैं ना कि यहाँ पे वो देवी देवता appear हो गए suddenly. How come they can appear suddenly like just like that? To really understand that, you have to understand that think this time as a 4th dimension. तभी समझ में आएगा वो how they can do this, how they can travel at a subtle body level. कैसे वो करते travel? एक दुनिया से दूसरी दुनिया में. How do they go? How that 2-dimensional space imagines that the 3-dimensional apple had comes to its universe, and they say that where it came. It can never imagine कि up and down. पता ही नहीं है. 4th, 3rd dimension ही नहीं है 2D के लिए. So नहीं समझ आता उसको. वो सकता मेरा हो गया. वो भी उसको apple कभी पूरा दिखता ही नहीं है. Somewhere same thing the other scientist was explaining about the spear. जब वो spear जो रहता है वो 2D से गुजरेगा तो how it will happen? 1 dot, then it becomes smaller circle, bigger circle, center में पहुंच जाएगा speed, then it will start reducing the circle and again the dot and it will disappear. जो 2D वाला बंदा उसको समझ ही नहीं आया कि ये circle आता है. It will be miraculous for you. From where it has, it doesn't have that Z 3rd dimension. तो नहीं उसको पता है. You think at the miracle. तो ये अपने साथ भी होता है. Something come from the other space, other dimension, 4th dimension, to us it appears like a miracle because हम लोग उसको 3rd dimension में होने की वजह से समझ ही नहीं पाते. बुद्धि के लेवल पे बोला, साइंटिफिक लेवल पे लो, वो दिखेगा ही नहीं ना आपको. It will appear to like, वो भी fully दिखेगा नहीं. It will appear to like something else, but something miraculous appeared in front of you and disappear. ये चीज है 4th dimension का. तो ठीक से समझ में आता है, ठीक है. नहीं समझ में आता तो गो. अपने लिए बहुत ज्यादा कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ने वाला है. ये जो दो सोहम क्रिया करो, अपने सांस के ऊपर दे दो. कव्य को तो इतना बड़ा क्वांटम फिजिक्स और क्वांटम मैकेनिक्स नहीं पता था. तो बोलते हैं मुझे नहीं पता था ये सारे आत्मज्ञान की बातें या ये साइंस की बातें. मैंने तो बस फोकस किया अपने सांस के ऊपर, मैं आत्मज्ञानी बनी है. दिस वाज द एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ Bhushund. Let us be with his experience. Focus on it. जो मिलना है मिल जाएगा. With that note, we'll take a pause here. आज के सत्र को.
I would like to ask one question. Is this contemplate on it? But are the dreams are the multidimensional? Isn't it so? Just think over it. Our dreams are multidimensional. Just a thought came. Is it so?
सोच सकते हैं, just ponder upon it. This is a thought that has been put by Beena ji in our mind. Think about it, ponder upon it, and we can discuss it tomorrow. For today we will take a pause. आज के इस सत्र को यहीं पे समापन करते हैं. जय गुरुदेव.
जय गुरुदेव and